My name is Allison Chambers. I am a supervisor with Niagara Region Mental Health. I'll be your MC for this year's Vigil. I have worked with Niagara Region Mental Health for about 8 years now, and throughout these 8 years have really experienced the depth and impact loss can have on families, loved ones, and staff who work so hard to support our clients. I would be remiss not to mention the team that I work with, Act 2, and the loved ones of our clients who have passed away that are here with us today. It's really been a hard year. Your strength, resilience, dedication, and compassion does not go unnoticed. I am honored to be able to share this time of reflection and remembering with you all here today. So welcome. We are so grateful that we can meet in this beautiful place. Please be aware that we have one of our staff members, Brandon, over there, who will be taking photos of the event today. Brandon is a community health broker with Niagara Region Public Health and is also a member of the Memorial Forest Committee. He will be taking photos exclusively for our Memorial Forest photo album. If you do not want your photo taken, please just let him know. We really hope this vigil will be a special experience for all of you today. Niagara Region is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wenjaronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara stands with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. We host this event every year during Mental Illness Awareness Week, which is an annual national public education campaign designed to help open the eyes of Canadians to the reality of mental illness. This vigil has become a yearly time to remember and honor those individuals who have passed away after a courageous battle with mental illness, as well as an opportunity to share stories of hope and recovery. Our planning committee has worked very hard to put this event together this year, and it includes many passionate members within public health, members in our community with lived experience, as well as many external partners from the Canadian Mental Health Association, Distress Centre Niagara, Niagara College, and Positive Living Niagara. Planning committee members are all wearing green lanyards today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to approach one of them. Today, we are remembering those we have loved, not only those born into our families, but people that have, for one reason or another, crossed our life paths and become an important part of our lives. I now have the honor of introducing the Strong Water Singers. Established in 2015, Strong Water Singers have become an international award-winning Indigenous collective of drummers from across the Niagara region. Please welcome the Strong Water Singers.
Okay, so thank you. It is so honoring for us to be here today, and I did want to share a couple of words, kind of to explain the songs that we're going to sing today, but also to kind of share our intent and I guess our spirit in which we want to contribute today. So the Strong Water Singers started in 2015. It's been an 8-year journey. We gather together every week at the Fort Erie Native Friendship Center every Wednesday, and a lot of us struggle with mental health issues. But what Wednesday has become for us is a way to release, number one, a way to care for each other, number two, and a way for us to hold space for people who cannot use their voice yet. There have been lots of people who come into our circle who can't sing with us, but they're there to get the medicine with us. And they sit, and sometimes they cry, and sometimes they just want to talk, and we give them that space to do that. COVID has taught me a lot of things about myself and my mental health battle, I think. And I'm fortunate because I had to look within myself for things that I had to change. And I think the most difficult change that we have to make is the one within ourselves, because it's kind of hard to be like, I wasn't a good human in that moment and I need to do better. We're not taught to look inside ourselves critically like that. And if my goal is to be the best human I can for my children and for the women that I sit in circle and community with, then we're doing the right thing, right? We're gathering together every Wednesday. We're making sure that we're okay. For some of us, we become so conditioned that by the time Friday or Saturday comes, we're like, oh my God, I need drumming. I need my women. I need my circle. Because what has happened is that Wednesday has turned into almost the equivalent of like a rage room for us. Like, man, we just let it out because there's so many roles and responsibilities that we carry. And sometimes, for example, the role that I have as mother, I can't say all the things that I want to say to them because it's going to hurt their feelings, right? So a lot of times I have to be quiet and I have to just let that sit within me. And when I let that sit within me, what it causes me is depression because I'm not being able to speak my truth. Same thing with my partner, my husband, my parents, my whatever. There's a lot of things I can't say, but on Wednesday, I'm going to let it all out. I'm going to feel free. I'm going to give myself that freedom to not carry those burdens anymore. So, hi, Nicole. When the bodies of the children started becoming uncovered a few years ago, it was a horrific and a horrific thing for a lot of people to experience because you had to know the truth that we were carrying for a long time, right? But what I started thinking about, what I've come to know and learn in our journey together as women, is that I kind of look at Mother Earth as the ultimate single mother, right? We kind of walk all over her all day. We don't show her enough appreciation, enough gratitude. We just expect her to give us, give, make us the grilled cheese, give me the chocolate milk, do the things, and I'm not going to say thank you. But when these bodies started becoming uncovered, what I thought was, oh my God, she had to hold that secret for so long. That must have been really hard for her. So sitting here today and listening to the woman speak this morning before me, they asked me to a planning meeting. And I think it's funny when people ask me to planning meetings because I always say, what we do is spirit led. So we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but when I get there, spirit could tell me something else and I got to go in a different direction, right? So what spirit is leading me to right now, the songs we're going to sing is, the first one is the Elements Honor Song. And that's to honor all the elements in creation that still live up to their original roles and responsibilities today. The wind, the land, the water, the fire. And what a lot of us don't understand is our relationship to those elements really determines how they treat us, right? Because especially when I think about fire and water, they have the ability to nurture us and give us life, but they also have the ability to take life, right? So I'm mindful all the time of how my relationship with water is. So when it's my daughter's birthday, we go down to the waters all the time because everybody here, you came here on earth in water, in the water of your mother's womb, right? So when it's my daughter's birthday or anybody's birthday in my family, we go down to the river and we sing that song to the waters to show appreciation, to say thank you for giving us life. I don't know what the percentage is of how much our body is made up of water. 75? I don't know. Mine's Pepsi. I know this much. mine's 75% Pepsi. I know this. I'm not gonna lie. But we need to honor that, right? And honoring that means that we're honoring ourselves. And it's hard to honor ourselves because we're taught to look outwards instead of inwards. So after we sing the Elements Honor Song, we're going to go right into snake medicine. And the reason why I love sharing this song, and especially in this capacity for this venue, is snake medicine was a song that was gifted to us from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We're a drum group. Listen, we have about 100 ladies and we love having experiences together. So if we say, let's go on a road trip, yes, let's go on a road trip because we don't get to go on road trips. We're single moms, right? So we went on a road trip to the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation where this beautiful woman, Val King, and her daughters, they know all the traditional songs and they gifted us this song. And the thing is with Val and her daughters, she tells us, I have all the songs, but I don't have people that want to come learn the songs. You're the first people who came from far away to learn these songs. So to show her appreciation for us giving us this song, what we did was we showed up at their powwow that year and we filled their dance arena with women singers for the first time in that nation's history. And it was the most beautiful and powerful. And every time I talk about it, I get goosebumps. It was beautiful. And the lesson that I carry with that today is that relationship building is so important. So important. And we have difficulties, it's a group of women. It's hard, man. Sometimes it's like trying to give 50 cats a bath at the same time. Nobody wants to do it, right? But you have to be like, if this is the goal we want to get to, it's going to be uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, we're human, right? And let's figure out how to work through it together. So every time I sing this snake medicine song, that's what I think of. how important it is to maintain relationships, even through difficulty, even through sadness and triumph and all the things. We have to be good humans for each other and good humans to each other. At the end of the day, that's all we can be, right? So here we go. I hope you like our songs. We'll see. Where Hey, me, Gwetch. Also, whew. So Niagara chapter of Native Women a couple weeks ago granted me the award of Native Woman of the Year. I know. I said big mistake because I went home and I made myself a sash, and guess what? I'm wearing it everywhere. So to Walmart to do my dishes, to sweep my floor, because I want to celebrate and honor myself, right? So everybody in the crowd today, if you're here, remember to give yourself those moments to celebrate yourself all the time. You're a perfectly perfect human the way you are, and you're appreciated and loved. So Miigwech, thank you for inviting Strong Water Singers, and we're going to be over there if you want to talk to us later.
Thank you, Strong Water Singers, for that beautiful performance. I would now like to introduce our guest speaker for today. To Susan Mifsud LaRock is a mother, partner, friend, writer, volunteer, and someone who also happens to live with mental illness. As a fierce advocate for stigma elimination, she comes to us today to spread her message of hope, recovery, and empowerment. After Susan speaks, Brandon will come up and lead us in a song. While he sings, we would like to invite everyone to come up and add a Hope Rock into our new mental wellness rock garden. So the Hope Rocks are just over there on that rock, and you can add a rock over to that garden over there. This garden and sign were generously funded by the Niagara Suicide Prevention Coalition, and the garden was built by volunteers from our committee and Niagara College this past summer. The rocks were painted by numerous clients who are currently in service with Niagara Region Mental Health. Please feel free to come up, choose a rock that speaks to your heart, and add it to our garden once Brandon starts singing. Now, let's please welcome Susan.
Thanks so much, Allison. For anyone who has seen me speak in the past, I often will just go on a merry journey that nobody really knows where I'm headed to. But today, I actually wanted to make sure that that I covered the pieces that I think are really important to know and to hear. And so I'm actually going to be going from, for the most part, a script. So I want to introduce myself. As Allison said, I'm a mom, I'm a sister, I'm a good friend, a community volunteer, and I'm also someone who lives with mental illness, specifically for me, depression and anxiety. For most of my life, I would not have shared this last piece of information about myself because it was a very shameful secret that I kept. Today, I realize how important it is to share my story for others and for myself. And I'd like to spend a few minutes talking to you about my journey, describing what recovery means to me, and leaving you with a message of hope for the future. So, I don't know when the illness began. As a child, I was very shy, I was nervous, I was quiet. I sometimes describe that I had a hollow feeling in my stomach, but I thought it was normal, and I didn't know any differently. Nonetheless, I had a good childhood, I had lovely parents, I had good friends. I did well in school, but I always felt the anxiety. When I had to speak in class, I would freeze with utter panic. I stayed home sick on days when we had play dates because I was too anxious about how I would perform, and I would literally become sick. Still, I managed to get through with minimal disruption until university. My first depressive episode, I now know in retrospect, was during my first year. It was just before Christmas break, and I became more and more reclusive. I stopped going to class. I spent many hours sleeping. Fortunately, I got through my exam somehow, and while I was home for a week during the holiday break, my mom looked after me, and I managed to get back on track and returned to school in January with not much of a blip. While there were times when my anxiety was high and I self-medicated with alcohol in order to get through school pressure and social situations, I did manage to get through those 4 years at university without being seriously derailed. I began my first real job the week I graduated. My next significant episode after graduation was when I began working full-time. I went to my doctor, who suggested I was dealing with, he called it situational depression, the pressures of my first professional job. I took antidepressants for a time. I got back on track. I came off the medication. This began a cycle for me that lasted over 2 decades. Going on medication, stabilizing and coming off meds, sometimes with and sometimes without my doctor's knowledge. During these years, I worked very hard to make sure no one, not colleagues, not family, not friends, knew about my struggle with depression and anxiety. I was working as a manager in human resources, and I'd worked really hard to achieve my level, and I was terrified I would be found out. I was sure I was incompetent, and people would discover my secret. When I was particularly ill, I would close the door of my office, cancel appointments. I couldn't talk to people without my heart racing. And I kind of laugh now when I say this because they kind of expect you to talk to people when you're in human resources. I would have sweaty palms, and sometimes I would literally feel the need to run. Occasionally I would give in and I would leave so no one would see me crying for absolutely no reason. About the same time I was diagnosed with situational depression, I also developed Crohn's disease, which is an autoimmune disease. And interestingly, there's now a lot of research that ties it to mental illness, the gut-brain connection they talk about. So for me, when my mental illness took over, my Crohn's often flared at the same time because it was exacerbated by stress. It was so much easier for me to blame my state on this real physical illness and hide the other invisible challenge. My family had no idea what to do when I was experiencing depressive episodes. Sometimes I yelled at them. Other times I was kind of like a zombie. I didn't care about anything, not even my 2 little boys. I sometimes say now that my older son was probably 5 years old before he realized that other mothers did not play by laying prone on the floor. I would sleep for hours, and before I would sleep for hours and hours before I would finally get up, go to the doctor, and start that cycle all over again. In the fall of 2007, I experienced a particularly debilitating episode. Somehow, I dragged myself out of bed and went to see Margaret Trudeau, who was presenting at Brock University. She talked about her own struggles, about how exhausting it was to keep the facade of wellness with friends and family, about her recovery, and about the stigma of mental illness. And for whatever reason, her story resonated with me at that time. And when I went to the doctor this time to go back on medication, I also decided that things needed to be different. I researched depression and recognized and finally accepted that for me, and this is so individual, and I'm always, it's always very important for me to say this, that for me, being on medication puts me on a level playing field. It's something that I need. But it is not something that in and of itself is the magic bullet, the magic pill. I also realized that I had a finite amount of energy, and when I was pushed, my physical and mental health suffered. I acknowledged for the first time that I live with depression and anxiety, that it was part of me, and that the situation was my life, and it wasn't going away no matter how much I wished it would. So I worked hard at realigning my priorities at work. I stepped back from a role I had as assistant director, and with the help of an incredibly supportive supervisor, was able to focus on functions that were more in line with my passions. More health and wellness, rewards and recognition, less investigations and terminations. At home, I turned in my Superwoman cape and regularly asked the question, will this matter in a week? In a year? Some days I just sat quietly and named the dust bunnies. It wasn't easy, but it was life-saving for me. During the time I was learning about myself, I also decided that I needed to do more than just balance my own life. I was in a good place. I had a secure job, supportive friends and family, and recognized that many people who struggled with mental illness did not have this luxury. I began slowly opening up about my illness. My first hurdle was with my older son. He would have been about 14 at the time. We were driving in the car, where all good conversations happen with teenagers, where you do not make eye contact. And I began to talk about my illness, my choice to talk about my struggle. And my son listened, his eyes always up front, not looking at me. And after I got through this whole sort of conversation, I paused and I asked him what he thought about it. And he simply said, that explains a lot. I also chose to disclose at work. When someone asked me how I was, I said, I was struggling with a depressive episode, but I'm doing much better now. I was anxious about the possible reaction I would get, but rather than being judgmental, people were incredibly supportive. They told me about their mothers, their sisters, brothers, neighbors, and their own mental health challenges, and it began to open a conversation. It would be lovely to say that, and then we all lived happily ever after, and leave the story on a high note, but we know life's not like that, and honestly, would we really want it to be? It's easy to talk about hope when things are going well, and less so when there are challenges. In 2010, my world turned upside down again. It was the end of a marriage, the diagnosis of my father with Alzheimer's, and my older son's first mental health challenge in his first year of university. He was subsequently diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In the past, I would have stoically kept my challenges to myself and soldiered on. This time, I made sure I was employing all the strategies I know are so important in managing my own mental health balance. I was aware of getting enough, but not too much sleep, because that's a flag for me. I tried to exercise regularly and eat well. I reached out to friends to share my fears and gain support that I needed to get through another day. And that was really tough, because I care for other people. They don't care for me. But I realized that it was a gift that I was giving them to allow them to give back to me. I could say that it didn't always work. And I did have, and I still have, challenges that I can say brought me to my knees on occasion. But I was able to get up and carry on through the help of appropriate medication, the support of friends and family, and a better grasp on what was important in life. Fast forward to 2014. I again encountered a life challenge. This time, it was the loss of my job after 26 years. I'm happy to say that while it was painful and I had to mourn the loss in my own way, it was not the worst thing that happened to me. My elderly neighbor caught me in my driveway a couple of weeks after it happened, and she was anxious to know if everything was okay. She was aware of both my own and my son's struggles with mental illness. I told her I had lost my job, and she said, "Oh, thank goodness." I looked at her a little puzzled, and she said, "I thought someone was sick. You can always get another job." Wise words, and she was right. Instead of being overwhelmed by the loss, I was able to move to the next phase and determine the opportunity. I decided to return to school full-time to complete my Master's of Education. It was not an easy process. I had not been a full-time student in 30 years. The other mature student in my cohort was 27. We had to say in our first group one thing about ourselves that was unique, and the only thing I could think of was, I'm old enough to be all y'all's mother. My mantra the first couple of months was, whatever made me think this was a good idea? It was terrifying, and then it was beautiful. I was able to focus my studies on mental health and addictions. I spent much of my time researching positive psychology. Instead of looking at the weaknesses and illness, positive psychology focuses on meaning and purpose and allows people to live fulfilling lives. Of particular interest was the research of one of the rock star researchers, as I call her, Sonia Lyubomirsky, and she's done work on being able to positively impact your own well-being. She talks about having dynamic, episodic, novel, and intention-enticing activities to increase lasting well-being. I was sold. I was already running my own blog site after blogging for a year with Healthy Minds Canada, and I decided I would engage in my own rather unscientific experiment. And so I began my positive psychology experiment that I called 50 Fabulous Feats at 50. I decided to do one novel, intentional activity every week and blog about it. These weren't bucket list items. They were things you could do, often for free, and mostly in my own community. They were also feats for me, not necessarily feats for others, particularly related to my own struggles with anxiety and depression. In April of 2016, one of my favorite and most profound feats was to be hired as a recovery support worker with the Assertive Community Treatment Team at Niagara Region Mental Health. I was privileged to serve ACT clients in their community with an amazing team of multidisciplinary professionals, some of whom are here today. Love you guys. At this time, I was also given the opportunity through the Mental Health Commission of Canada to attend a program that allowed me to compile my blog posts into a book that I published. I used 10 pillars of wellness, including things like acts of kindness, gratitude, savoring, cultivating optimism, and nurturing social relationships in my personal life and in supporting the people that I was serving. It's very interesting that that in going through that, I was able to publish my own book. And I have, for anyone who's a writer, the ultimate is to have your own ISBN. So that was something that was really exciting for me. In 2020, I retired from my position at the region, but not from my passion for mental health advocacy and health equity. I continue to volunteer and to share my message. I will always have challenges in my life, and I will never be cured from depression. But I know that hiding our stories is what makes us sick, and it's through sharing our stories that we find hope. As we gather here today, I recognize the incredible challenges that many people have and do live with in their struggles with mental illness and addiction. On the memorial, I see names of people I've served through my job in ACT and that of my own brother-in-law, Noel. While we come here to mourn, yes, we also honor their lives and their ability to open up a conversation and overcome the stigma that stops so many people from seeking the help they deserve. I hope that my story has given a little insight into not just living with mental illness, but living well with mental illness, a life infused with meaning and purpose and hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. If you'd like to take a moment to visit the rocks in the rock garden, now would be a great time to do that. And you can choose a rock over here if you'd like and place it in the rock garden just to the left over here. I'm going to play a song called I'll Never Turn My Back on You. turn my back on you. I'll never turn my back on you. If you could see it, you can do it. And when you call, I'll answer you. I'll never stand in your way. I'll never stand in your way. Even on the coldest of mornings, when the wild winds are blowing. 'Cause you've gotta find the light. You've gotta hold it tight. And no matter what you do, I'll never turn my back on you. And I'll never run away again. I'll never run away again. 'Cause life is better where you found me. And I finally found you. And I'll never quite know your pain. No two stories are the same. Whatever's hidden in your closet, you'd know I'd dig it if you dig it out. 'Cause you've gotta find the light. You've gotta hold it tight. Yeah, no matter what you do, I'll never turn my back on you. So call in the morning, or call in the evening. You can call when you want to, or whenever you need it. And I'll never turn my back on you. 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 Oh, oh, I'll never turn my back on you. Oh, oh, I'll never turn my back on you. Oh, oh, I'll never turn my back on you. No matter what you do, I'll never turn my back on you. Oh, oh, I'll never turn my back on you. Oh, oh, I'll never turn my back on you. Oh, oh, I'll never turn my back on you. No matter what you do, I'll never turn my back on you. very kind of you. And there's no rush, but when we're all feeling ready, Steph Hicks from Public Health is going to come up and share some words as well.
I'm a health promoter with Public Health. I also co-chair the Niagara Suicide Prevention Coalition. So first wanted to say thank you to the committee for inviting me here to be a part of this very beautiful event in this very beautiful space today. I've been co-chairing the coalition for about the last 3 years with Stacey Terry from Distress Center Niagara. And we are lucky as a coalition to have the support of amazing members from approximately 25 agencies from across Niagara, as well as community volunteers who sit as members on the coalition. The mission of the Niagara Suicide Prevention Coalition is that we exist to bring together interested community organizations, groups, individuals, and volunteers to make Niagara a suicide-safer community. Thanks, Brandon. We have 6 overall areas of focus that we work on as a coalition and as part of these community groups. We focus on public awareness, media education, access to services, means restriction, training, evaluation, and research. This group focuses on 5 outcomes, and we work to ensure that organizations who are part of our coalition feel supported to do suicide prevention work. We want to ensure that training is available so that helpers feel confident to address suicide. We work to ensure that community members know how they can access supports that are available to them. We also work to reduce stigma through continued conversations about suicide. And we do this by focusing on prevention, intervention, and postvention that are integrated into those 6 areas of focus. The coalition has also brought a new app in the last year and a half to Niagara called Be Safe by a company called Mind Your Mind that offers crisis planning and links people directly to supports in Niagara. When we've asked our members to give one word that describes the coalition, we often hear the word hope. And that's what drives all of the work that we do and honors why we come together. I wanted to share a quote about hope from Desmond Tutu. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. My hope is that we can continue to see rays of light in the darkness in all of the work that we do, and that by coming together as a community for events like this one, we can reduce the stigma of mental illness and suicide and offer hope to anyone who feels alone. At this time, 2 of our Memorial Forest Committee members, Lisa and Katie, will read the names of those individuals who appear on the nameplates here at Memorial Forest. Please take this opportunity to turn on your candles as we honor family and friends who have passed on after living with mental illness and have left footprints on our hearts. So in order to turn the candles on, if we need that, you just sort of twist the bottom and the light should glow. Katie and Lisa will also read a poem and lead us in a moment of silence. Welcome, Lisa and Katie.
Memories in the heart. Feel no guilt in laughter, she knows how much you care. Feel no sorrow in a smile, and that he's not here to share. You cannot grieve forever, they would not want you to. They would hope that you could carry on the way you always do. So talk about the good times and the way you showed you care, the days you spent together, all the happiness you shared. Let memories surround you. A word someone may say will suddenly recapture a time, an hour, or a day. That brings him back as clearly as though he was here and fills you with the feelings that she is always near. For if you keep these moments, you will never be apart, and they will live forever, locked safe within your heart. Andre S., Ronald Youngblood, Bernie Ohm Jr., Enzo Martino, Jason Ramuno, Charlotte Gray, Billy Soper, the boxer, Barry S., Jeff S., Jerry Carroll, Imelda DaCosta, Maggie Hills, Aileen Hood, Robin Hood Jr., Alan Hood, Wanda Kopsinski, Charlene W., Barb P., Connie N., Donna W., Caroline Campbell, Rose Carrick, David N. Smith, Chad Darren Gibson, David N. Smith, Robert Boo Rochefort, Victor G., Marion Murphy, Noel LaRocque, Sina Mae Secord, Susan K., 1959 to 2011, Bradley Delia, Carlos J., artist, Noah Superstar Curland, Bill Shaw, Barbara H., William John J., Scott Butcher, Jason Curtin, David Herson, Joe Petrangelo, Peggy, Ron James, Ryan Zapiri, April 1993 to April 9th, 14, Barry S.J. Crump, Brenda P. Crump, Eugene, Al Tex, Robert Pico, Dan Sloan, Courtney Schooley, Kyle Hilton McIntyre, Kayla Ford, John H. Sidney Mines.
Leslie Adored Animals, Tony Mingle, Yvonne Sean Guinard, Vincent, Paige Glissa, Ron Rush, Raton, Benjamin Trummels, missing since February 2016, gone but not forgotten, Vera Evans, Elaine Palais, Matthew Rodney Sutherland, Andre Mati, Helen L. Kovacs, Jeremy Senye, Uncle Jussie, Shelley, my brother John, Thomas James Ryan IV, September 20th, 1991 to February 4th, 2019. Rob Gibson, Robert Eugene Pico, Kurt H., Kathleen C., Chad Morris, All My Love, Amos Severy, Edmund B. Ron, for all those we have lost to overdose, Vincenzo Noble, Heath Murphy, Brad M. Jenkins, Ellen M. Burns, Matthew Lannon, Paul John Coulter, Sarah, in loving memory of Scott Vale, Chris H., Patrick Mercier, Eric Weatherspoon, David A., Ray of Sunshine, Ray Lentane, October 19th, 1983 to August 24th, 2017. Denise Wilson, Sylvain Miro, November 20th, 1987 to March 22nd, 2012. Jackson Avery Kelly, Marilyn Hildebrandt, Malcolm Ross, Arlie Arch Nordstrom, Eldon Paul Sari, Kian Anthony Hare, Megan Sward, Tyson Demers, Tyanithi Visuvalingam, Allison Archer, Brittany Adams Cooper, Brandon Allen Ozawi, March 28, 1986 to November 23, 2016. Zaira J.N. Taylor, C.H. Feels the Love, Derek Kutu, P.M. Quiet Cat Lady, J.P., and Josh Melnick. We're now going to take a brief moment of silence to remember and honor the individuals we just mentioned, as well as those not mentioned, but whom we are remembering today.
This brings us to our closing. I just wanted to say thank you to Susan for sharing in such a personal way about your journey. You set a courageous example for all of us to be more open with each other about our own challenges with mental health and that there is recovery. Most importantly, there's hope and support. We also want to thank Stephanie from the Niagara Suicide Prevention Coalition, as well as Lisa and Katie for reading the names and poem and leading us through a moment of silence. The Memorial Forest is a space of 4 seasons. We invite you and others in our community to visit this site throughout the year. It's truly a place where you can escape from the busyness of life, quiet your mind, reflect, and remember. Thank you, friends and family, and all who have joined us for the Vigil today, as well as those who will be viewing the Vigil online later. Thank you to Hamza, our videographer, who has filmed the Vigil today and will be editing it to appear online next week. We would also like to thank all of those who have helped plan and to be a part of this event today, including all of those who donated their time, energy, and finances to this space and event. Finally, we would love to get your thoughts and feedback on the event today and to find out ways that we could improve or enhance both the Vigil and this space. If you have a smartphone with you today, there is a QR code attached to one of the picnic tables. You could scan and fill out for a quick evaluation. Alternatively, you can go to our Memorial Forest website at niagararegion.ca/Memorial Forest to fill it out at home. Thank you in advance for any feedback you can share with us. To close our Vigil today, I would like to invite Deb Pierce up to sing. Deb has been singing at the Memorial Forest Vigil for many years now, and this event is very near and dear to her heart. Come on up, Deb.
I'm in the wings. You didn't see me behind stage over there. We'll see if technology is cooperating. Please hold. Okay. Yeah, no, please hold again. Oh, wait. This is me pretending I'm not 54 and don't need glasses. I'm gonna do this because I'm gonna cry. When you're weary heart, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, and darkness falls, and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. Oh, when you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your
Thanks, Deb. This concludes our vigil. Just a reminder to please leave your candles in the basket on the table under the pavilion so we can use them again in coming years. And we hope that you enjoyed the vigil today, and we welcome for you to join us again in coming years. Thank you.